7:05 p.m. Lafourche Parish Council meeting regular session of Tuesday, April 12th, 2022 is called to order. Ms. Carleen, can you please conduct roll call?
Yes, sir. Mr. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Adams. Present. Mr. Groh. Here. Mr. Melvin. Here. Chairman Wendell.
Here.
Mr. Araby. Here. Mr. Otan. Here. Mrs. Chasson. Here. Mr. Lorraine. Here. President Chasson.
Thank you, ma'am. If everyone would please rise, our invocation will be led by Mr. Groh, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Lorraine.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Dear Lord, we ask you for your guidance as we conduct the Lafourche Parish business tonight. We'll recite the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, on behalf of the council, we'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting. If you'd like to address the council, please fill out a blue public wishing to address the council form located by the entrance door and turn it in to the council clerk prior to beginning of the public address session. Please silence any cellular or other communication devices to avoid interruptions. As we proceed through the meeting, public comment will be offered on each of the ordinances for ratification before council discussion and voting. As we move into the resolutions, we have two resolutions that we're going to allow public comment on tonight, which is item 31 and item 39 prior to the council voting. Moving into item A, approval of minutes. I have a motion by Mr. Adams, second by Mr. Jones to accept the minutes of the regular March 22nd, 2022 regular session. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 9 yeas, 0 nays. Item B, Lafourche Parish Outstanding Citizen. As I mentioned last week, this was something I dropped the ball on 2 or 3 meetings ago. So without further ado, we will cover that. I'm going to read a short little excerpt from a long dissertation that was submitted on behalf of this group of individuals. And even though it's a group receiving the Outstanding Citizen Award, that should in no way deter what was done by this group of folks during a time that we as the parish and the citizens that they served were in need. It goes on to say, our post's detached auxiliary building was completely destroyed by Hurricane Ida, but that did not deter our members from providing aid to our community. Our post sustained minor roof damage, but we were able to open our doors and provide assistance to our community. Members responded quickly and cleared out our parking lot of debris. Even though our post did not have electricity or running water, it became a staging point for fuel, non-perishable foods, water, tarps, cleaning supplies, hot meals, etc. The post commander began coordinating with other VFW posts and veterans organizations to provide much needed aid to our members, veterans, and community. It goes on to highlight the acts of these selfless men and women, the auxiliary group and the actual post, as far as what they gave back to the community, what they did in the height of the aftermath of Hurricane Ida, monetary donations, food donations, helping out in the community, and things like that. So we definitely, as a council and from the parish administration, want to honor them with a formal thank you of that. Lafourche Parish Outstanding Citizen Award. Whereas the Lafourche Parish Council, through Resolution 18-004, credited the Outstanding Citizen Award program to recognize Lafourche Parish residents for extraordinary accomplishments, heroic, courageous efforts, and selfless service and deeds that improve the lives of residents of Lafourche Parish. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Lafourche Parish Council, Parish of Lafourche, State of Louisiana, we do hereby recognize Freddie John Falgu, VFW Post 3665, as the recipient of the Outstanding Citizen Award for their outstanding service to Lafourche Parish, and offer our congratulations for achieving this honor. So if you guys would like to join me up front, we'll take a photo. And once again, even though it is a group being recognized, all the groups that participated after these events are made up of individuals. And we'd like to thank those guys and gals for... yeah.
Congratulations. Mr. Cherry. You need that, whatever that is that one of your traffic calming devices? What I just handed you from the sheriff? Is that a traffic calming device? Do I need that? She said to give it to you. Okay. Miss Gwen brought it in. Somebody dropped it off. Okay.
Don't forget our crawfish cook-off on the 11th of next month. 7.
All right, item C, state or federal legislative updates. We do not have any today. Item D, executive session. Motion by Ms. Shasta, second by Mr. Jones. To enter executive session for item number 2, LA Revised Statute 42:17A2, discussion regarding Cantrell versus Lafourche Parish Government, docket number 137931. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes, 9 yeas, 0 nays. Just for the record, the executive session will be the full council. Parish President Shasta, Parish Administrator Mitch Ogeron, Miss Lisa Ogeron from Lafourche Parish District Attorney's Office, Lafourche Parish District Attorney Christine Russell, and Attorney Mike G. And if you guys will bear with us for a few minutes, we shall return shortly. Motion by Mr. Otan, second by Mr. Arabi, to reconvene the meeting. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes, 9 yeas, 0 nays. Item E is not needed. Item F, certificate of recognition. Number 3, Parish President Archie Shasta to present a certificate recognizing the Women's Club of Thibodaux on their 100th anniversary. Mr. President. Got you.
All right. So whereas the Women's Club of Thibodaux was organized in April of 1922 and is the oldest continually active women's club and the first civic and cultural women's club in Lafourche Parish. Whereas Mrs. C.P. Shaver, the first president, and 14 other ladies met for the first time in the Red Cross room of the parish courthouse. And whereas the purpose of the Women's Club was to promote civic betterment, domestic science, literary work, and members began working on an open library in the city of Thibodaux and ultimately the entire parish. And whereas the membership grew to 27, a club member, Ms. J.C. Jones, the first woman to serve on the Lafourche Parish School Board, paved the way for additional education for black children, adding 2 more grades, 8th and 9th, to the existing C.M. Washington School. And whereas the Women's Club during World War II sold war bonds in the amount of $162,000 and $2,200 in war stamps, receiving a commendation from the President of the United States, the members also worked with the Red Cross and the polio drives. And whereas in 1949, the club established a scholarship at Nicholls State Junior College and has continued to provide an annual scholarship at the university to total 37 students. And whereas a club member, Miss Adele Babin, designated the seal for the city of Thibodaux, which is still visible on all public city buildings and vehicles. And whereas the Women's Club of Thibodaux helped organizing 8 other clubs in the city of Thibodaux and other women's clubs in Lockport, Raceland, and Golden Meadow. Whereas the Women's Club of Thibodaux remains an active group today working for the betterment of the community. Now therefore, I, Archie Shasta, Parish President of Lafourche, and the Parish Council do hereby recognize and congratulate the Women's Club of Thibodaux on their 100th anniversary.
Shame on him. Love you. I was in Ordinance, that was in Ordinance.
You can.
You're gonna start having children, but after I retire.
Thank you very much, ladies, and congratulations on everything you do. Item G. Item G, proclamations. Number 4, Parish President Archie Shasta to present a proclamation proclaiming April 2022 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sexual assault is at the core and is devastating abuse of power, one that affects people of every age, race, sex, gender, identity, sexual orientation, national origin, socioeconomic background, and religion. It is the responsibility of each of us to stand up and speak out against it, to not only improve the laws and the services available to survivors, but also to change the culture and the attitudes that allow sexual assault to proliferate. Whereas every 68 seconds an American is sexually assaulted, and every 9 minutes that victim is a child. And whereas 9 out of every 10 victims of rape are female. And whereas 94% of women who are raped experience symptoms that are of post-traumatic stress disorder during the 2-week period following, and 30% of women report PTSD symptoms 9 months after the rape. And whereas 33% of women who are raped contemplate suicide, and 13% of women who are raped attempt suicide. And whereas out of every 100 rapes, 40 are reported, 10 lead to an arrest, 8 are prosecuted, 4 lead to conviction, 3 rapists will spend a day in prison, and 97 rapists will walk away free. And whereas in the year 2021, the Haven answered 130 sexual assault hotline calls and served 102 primary survivors of sexual violence with 425 individual therapy sessions, 66 group therapy sessions, and 41 survivors receiving medical advocacy. And whereas victims should have support to find compassion, comfort, and healing they need, and the sexual perpetrators should be punished to the fullest extent of the law, while partnerships have been formed among the criminal justice agencies, allied professionals, and victim services to assist victims of sexual violence and their families. And whereas it is important to recognize that compassion and dedication to the individuals who provide service to victims of sexual violence, to work to increase public awareness of sexual violence and its prevalence, and to eliminate through the prevention and education. Whereas our parish has a moral obligation to work to the prevention of sexual assault and the severe trauma it causes to those affected. Now therefore, I, Archie Shasta, Parish President of Lafourche, do hereby proclaim April 22 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and be it further resolved that April 27th, 2022 be proclaimed Denim Day, and that all citizens are urged to wear teal on every Tuesday during the month of April, and denim on April 27th, to show their support in the effort to end sexual violence, to speak out against sexual violence, and to support all local efforts to assist survivors in the crimes and finding help and the healing they deserve. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think somebody's, yeah.
Good evening. My name is Melissa Williams. I am the training coordinator for the Haven, and on behalf of the Haven and our board of directors and all of the survivors of sexual violence that we provide services to here in Lafourche Parish, we want to say thank you for acknowledging this month. And we understand that it's very important, and we are glad that this community is doing a lot to help survivors, and we appreciate you.
Thank you, and thank your organization for what they do. Item 5, Parish President Archie Shasta to present a proclamation proclaiming April 2022 as Fair Housing Month. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Whereas the 54th anniversary of the National Fair Housing Law and Title 8 of the Civil Service Rights Act of 1968 during the month of April is an occasion for all Americans, individually and collectively, to rededicate themselves to the principles of freedom from housing discrimination wherever it exists. And whereas this law guarantees for each citizen the critical personal element of freely choosing a home. And whereas fair housing law has been passed by the state of Louisiana, and implementation of the laws requires a positive commitment, involvement, and support from each of our citizens. Whereas the department and the agencies of the parish of Lafourche should provide leadership in an effort to make fair housing not just an idea, but an ideal for all citizens. And whereas the barriers that diminish the rights and limit options of any citizen to freely choose a home will ultimately diminish the rights and limit the options for all. Now therefore, I, Archie, Shasta, Parish President Lafourche, do hereby proclaim April 22 as Fair Housing Month. All right.
Item 6, Parish President Archie Shasta to present a proclamation proclaiming the week of April 11th through 15th, 2022 as National Community Development Week. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Whereas the Community Development Block Grant Program has operated since 1974 to provide local governments with the resources required to primarily meet the needs of low to moderate income persons. And whereas the Community Development Block Grant Program is among the few remaining federal programs available to address the needs of low to moderate income persons and small cities. And whereas the Community Development Block Grant Program has provided the state of Louisiana with important and flexible assistance to meet the needs of low to moderate income residents of small cities by funding sewer, water, street improvement projects, economic development projects, and other public improvements. And whereas, I thought I had a theme song for a minute. And whereas Congress and the nation acknowledge the critical value of the Community Development Block Grant Program and the significant projects that rely on its funds and support. Whereas the week of April 11th through the 15th, 2022 has been reserved for the recognition and appreciation of the Community Development Block Grant Program. Now therefore, I, Archie Shasta, Parish President Lafourche, do hereby proclaim April 11th through the 15th as National Community Development Week.
Item 7, Parish President Archie Shasta to present a proclamation proclaiming the month of April 2022 as Second Chance Month. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm almost done, I promise. Whereas nearly all incarcerated individuals will eventually leave prison and return to communities across the state. And whereas formerly incarcerated individuals face many hurdles in securing employment, housing, transportation, and health care. And whereas working with formerly incarcerated people to create opportunities for them to be productive members of society benefits their families and communities in many ways, including improving safety and preventing and reducing crime. And whereas efforts are underway at the federal, state, and local levels to establish programs and policies focused on removing the barriers that prevent formerly incarcerated people from pursuing healthy and productive lives. And whereas the people of Lafourche Parish are called upon to observe Second Chance Month through actions and programs that promote awareness and challenges facing those who have paid their debt and opportunities to unlock second chances. And now therefore, I, Archie Shasta, Parish President of Lafourche Parish, do hereby proclaim April 22 as Second Chance Month.
That's a gun.
You too short. All right, and we do have a speaker on this one, so please remember to state your name and business address for the record, please.
My name is Hester Serrano. I am with the Department of Corrections Division of Probation Parole, the Reentry Program Manager that is located at 1404 Tiger Drive, Thibodaux, Louisiana. So just to start, I'd like to say that reentry, as the definition of reentry, is the act or process of reentering something. And in this case, it would be our citizens, our individuals returning back from incarceration. The Lafourche Parish Correctional Complex currently has 630 people incarcerated. The vast majority of those are returning back to Lafourche Parish. Our office in Thibodaux District supervises 854 people who are all currently citizens of Lafourche Parish. So we need you, not only the community, but the community's leaders, in order to make reentry a success. So we cannot do this without you. With that being said, on behalf of the agencies that are here with me, represented not only by the Department of Corrections Division of Probation Parole, but the other ladies that are here were with the Lafourche Parish Correctional Complex and Sheriff Craig Weber's office. So on behalf of the agencies with me and those justice-involved individuals in which we serve, we would like to say thank you for designating April 2022 as Second Chance Month. With April designated as Second Chance Month, the Bayou Region Reentry Team has been working tirelessly on several initiatives for this month, and I would like to introduce our community coordinator with Goodwill Industries in order to kind of give you some of those initiatives.
I'm gonna keep it brief because I like to be brief, right? Because we all like to go home. But with that in mind, on April 26th.
Can we get your name and address, please?
Hi, my name is Sherry Wilmore. Thank you for that. And I am the community coordinator for Goodwill. And what are we doing on April 26th at Fletcher Technical Community College? We will be hosting an employer forum that is bridging the gap between having better employers with our populations. So teaching employers and businesses and companies and organizations the benefits of which hiring our population have. And we understand that hiring our population is a risk. So there are tax incentives, there are fidelity bonding, things that you can learn more about. So if you have a business or you'd like to learn more about this, even as the leaders, come out at April 26th. Mid-February, April 26th at 8:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Fletcher Technical College, and then at the second half of it, we will have a job fair, which is open to the public, okay? So those are some things we're doing. We're also doing a second sight campaign with persons who are incarcerated in Lafourche, have realized that they have an issue when it's come to reading and things like that because they're struggling to see. So we have a reader glass campaign. So you could drop it off at Goodwill, you can drop it off Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office, you can drop it off at various places. I will send the information for you guys to participate in that as well, because when one person comes back home, we better a community. Thank you guys, and thank you for acknowledging Second Chance Month.
Ladies, thank you for your efforts and for those back at your agencies for all you're doing to keep this movement pushing forward. Item H, presentations or updates. Item number 8, Parish President to recognize LPG Employee of the Month or WOW employees for the month of March. Mr. President.
Last one, Mr. Chairman. From the moment that this employee came on board through a temporary status and then her transition to a permanent position as the council minute clerk, she hit the ground running and has never stopped. Her work is exemplary, and no job is ever too big or too small for her to undertake. Her work ethic and dedication to her job, as well as the attention to detail and deadlines, are qualities essential to the council clerk's office. This employee truly does possess the qualities, and I guess I can say her name, everybody knows who it is now, right? Rachel truly does possess the qualities inherent, the true meaning of the word team player, and she is, this person who nominated her says, I am fortunate to have her as a part of my team, and for all that, I say thank you for a job well done. Rachel, congratulations, and we all say thank you for a job well done as well.
Before Rachel's speech, Mr. Melvin has something.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Rachel and, of course, under Ms. Charlene's leadership. For a while in the last administration, should I say last council, we were kind of chasing our tail, trying to find someone qualified who could handle the minutes. And, you know, it's required by law, and a lot goes into it. It's not just as easy as sitting behind a desk. There's a lot more that goes on. So I wanted to really thank, Rachel and under Ms. Carlene's leadership and Tyra for helping and making it, catching us up and everything. Thank y'all.
Mr. Otan.
Yeah, I want to reiterate what Bo said, and forever grateful for her kicking butt and catching up on those minutes for all those years. And since then, we've pretty much been on point with the minutes. So thank you very much, Rachel.
Rachel, please state your name and address for the record. All right, congratulations, Rachel. Item I, Legal Advisory Report. Ms. Christine Russell, Lafourche Parish District Attorney.
Good evening again. I just want to remind everybody that we will have our open meeting seminar for all boards and commission members. It'll be on Thursday, April 21st at 6:00 p.m. at the Lockwood Community Center. We will be covering open meetings, public record, and public bid. We want to make sure the public knows that all are invited to attend. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions? All right. Item J, Engineers and Architects Reports. Just please remember to state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, John Blazons with GIS Engineering, 16878 West Main Street in Cutoff. We've got several projects to update on y'all tonight. The first one, I believe, is construction projects. Come on, Robbie, you're making me look bad. Okay. The Cyprian Pump Station, the status has not changed from last month. Hopefully, that's a good thing, Michael. New gearheads, we still expect in mid-June, and to be put into place within 30 days of that, and startup date in July of 2022. We have several projects in design. The Butch Hill Pump Station, which will be a bunch of pumps at Butch Hill. Let me see, what's that, 8, I believe. We've done all the preliminary modeling, the structural modeling, the hydraulic modeling. The preliminary design plans are being produced. We expect that to have that, I think, toward the end of May for y'all review. Actually, I think it's earlier than that because the parish wanted to do that, so. The emergency backup pumps as a watershed initiative project, we opened the bids earlier this week. We're evaluating them, and we'll provide y'all with a recommendation probably in the next couple of days. The Hurricane Ida pump station rehabs, as y'all can see, there's a list of 6 pump stations we are working on with y'all on. The assessment reports will be submitted by the end of the week for HGA's review and the parish's review. The Sanchez Bridge over Grand Bayou, we're just about finished with the final plans and specs. We had submitted some to the parish, and we are now addressing the comments we had gotten back from Public Works. Valentine Pontoon Bridge repair, we have done all the preliminary design. We're in progress with the permitting. We submitted the preliminary design to the parish a couple of weeks ago. We're waiting on y'all review. We are meeting with the Corps on the federal right-of-way requirements as well as the Coast Guard, and we anticipate being in the final design phase at this time next month. Grand Bayou Freshwater Reintroduction Project, we've completed the modeling. We're in progress with the preliminary design. Y'all can see a 3D rendering we had put together for y'all for the pump station configuration. For those who may not be familiar with the location, if you're coming from LaRose on the Berg-LaRose Highway, that is right before you get to the 2 bridges. That light brown area in the top right corner is the, there's a boat dock there. Sorry, a boat launch there. That's it.
Anybody, are there any questions for Mr. John? Mr. Ochen?
Yeah, John, on the Grand Bayou, there were some other items added in there about the dredging from Hurricane Ida, et cetera. So we had talked about this is a long-term project. Some items like that in terms of the dredging, that would be in the short term?
Yeah, so last week, we actually went out with GIS, with Laura. The Terrebonne Levee District, in conjunction with South Lafourche Levee District, has an ongoing dredge project that's going from the new Reggie Bagala floodgate north to make the gate operational. We met with Lowland. They have some locked-in unit prices, so our plan is to give them the quantities based on GIS's survey and actually do a change order and a cooperative endeavor agreement through the levee district to have them dredge all the way north to the bridge on 24, and then actually go around and then dredge from the intercoastal coming back south, so we can make sure all of this is open. We need to do that irregardless of how the pump station works out to keep letting water flow, but that's going to be a short-term fix, hopefully in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you for letting us know that, because when I saw that, to me, that's not part of that original project, like, and even going in the future. The other thing is, I know there's been a flurry of emails about funding for the Valentine pontoon bridge. Any updates you can give? I know that I've gotten the emails. I don't know if all my fellow council members have in the last week or so. Any comments on that?
Yeah, so if you guys remember right, the state's putting up $1 million. We bonded out some money out of road sales tax District 8 to the tune of about $3 million to make up the construction cost plus the cost of engineering. We were made aware of a RAISE grant that is for infrastructure and bridges. So what we're actually doing is actually going to try to apply for the grant in the hopes that the grant puts up the $2 million for us instead of us, and we could put that money back into Road A. So that was the flurry of emails going back and forth. We had to secure the commitment again from DOTD, and we had to put together some other identifying measures from John.
And the RAISE grant, for those who have been around a while, that is the BUILD grants and the Tiger grants, and they just change the name every few years on the federal level.
Great. And look, I thank you all again for keeping us informed, because, I mean, this project, I'm getting regular notifications, so thank you. Appreciate it.
And that application is due on Thursday. That's one of the reasons why Laura's not here tonight, is because she's back in the office working on that grant.
Thank you, Mr. Oten. Thank you, Mr. John.
Okay, thank y'all.
Good evening, Jack Blazons with T. Baker Smith, 1100 South Acadia Road in Thibodaux. So I have one project to update you on. It is the East Side Drainage Phase 1. That's in District 8 and 9. A couple of bullet points are bold text. Just to kind of bring you back, we started on October 13th, 300 calendar day project, and we're on schedule at about 60% of the contract time and the completed work. Down at the bottom, you can see some of the elements of the project. We have culvert installation in the 20 Arpent Canal. That's about 55% complete. Clearing and grubbing along the 20 Arpent Canal, as well as other lateral ditches, is about 99% complete. The drainage excavation is about 85% complete. Other items that haven't commenced are culvert cleaning and the permanent fencing along those waterways. That'll occur later in the schedule. Next slide, please. So I have a few photographs of the work as of the last month or so. This is the Dory Lateral, which is just behind East 59th Street. It's a 4,386 linear foot ditch, and that work is nearly complete. Next slide, please. This is another picture a little further down on the Dory Lateral, where we have a culvert crossing that was installed near about a month ago. Next slide, please. The 20 Arpent Canal, which is the main work item, it's about 22,000 feet of work. This is a culvert installation that was going on just about a couple of weeks ago near East 67th Street. Next slide, please. And I think this is the last one. The Valerie Lateral, which connects the 20 Arpent Canal to the 40 Arpent Canal near East 40th. This is towards the end of that outfall, close to the bridge at the very end of East 40th Street. And you can see a couple of photographs of the dredged work. There was tree clearing involved through a lot of that waterway as well. And this is just an overall vicinity map of the project, that you could see those 4 laterals in the South Lafourche area and the 20 Arpent Canal from about East 44th to the Brinton Canal at the south end, which is near South Lafourche High School. And that's all I had to report. Any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Jack?
Very good.
Mr. Lorraine?
Yeah, Jack, I know that Mr. Plaisance wasn't too happy with what was going. Did y'all settle that? I know y'all was supposed to go meet.
We've met with Mr. Plaisance several times now, and we're working on a solution that would be acceptable to him as well as the function of the project. Just to give you, I guess, a brief comment or two about it, he was provided drawing documents, a right-of-way was acquired, and when the work commenced, he was not pleased with the size increase of the ditch. So within the first day or so of working, work was stopped at that location, and we've been working on a possible solution that would be acceptable to the parish as well as this particular landowner.
Yeah, okay, I was happened to be at a meeting, and then that came up, and you said y'all were gonna go meet and look at the whole 9 yards, so I figured y'all did, and
yeah,
hopefully y'all work something out.
Yeah, I think we will. He's been very open and courteous to us, and we're trying to work on a solution that's going to be beneficial to him as well.
Okay, man, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lorraine. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Any other engineers or architects? All right, item K, public wishing to address the council, public hearings, agenda items, etc. Ms. Carlene.
Mr. Joseph Roberts, if you'd come to the podium, sir, state your name and address for the record. Please remember you have 3 minutes.
Joseph Roberts, 106 Valerie Street, Thibodaux, Louisiana, within the city of Thibodaux. I'm here requesting help from the parish to get a problem solved, that I have spoken to every government agency that should be in charge. I keep getting the same old answer, not my job, no money to do it. The blockage is in Bayou Buff. I just signed a contract with the state of Louisiana for land to be able to put my camp boat on. I can't even get there because of this blockage. I had some pictures I sent to Adam there. This blockage that we're looking at reaches all the way across Bayou Buff. It's been there for 2 years. I keep getting this same old thing. Not my job. I spoke to the Wildlife and Fishery. Not our job to keep the bayou open. I'm not asking to get the bayou clean. I just want to get this float on. Then I spoke to the Lafourche, North Lafourche Levee District. They point blank told me it's against the law for them to spend any money on removing that. It's not a drainage issue, they say. Water is draining. If you look at this picture right here, the front of my boat, I took that Sunday. I just went off to the side a minute to take pictures, and a bass boat came through there wide open on step. You see how narrow that is? What if another boat would have been coming from the other direction at the same speed? I guarantee the Wildlife and Fishery and the parish would be all over it then. It's going to take some kind of equipment to move this because they go out and spray it. It died. And you see where it's at? There's trees growing in the middle of the bayou now. There's a camp straight in the back over there. That man can barely get to his camp. If you look at the white one in the picture on the right-hand side, that poor man can't even get to his camp. Now, my camp's 20 foot wide and 60 feet long. How am I supposed to pass it through there? Mr. William here has been trying his best, but he keeps being told that we get bids for $300,000 to $40,000. I don't want the whole bayou clean. I just want to get that one thing moved. And then the regular boaters can take care of the rest. We're willing to do that, but we can't do that.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Roberts?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Roberts, if you give me your phone number, Chris Boudreau and OEP took someone out in an airboat last week to go look at a couple of blockages in Bayou Buff. Yeah, so I think there's a solution coming for you. I'm just not quite sure the right answer yet, but I'll call you tomorrow once I can talk to Chris.
All right, because like I said, we've been hearing the same thing, Archie. It's not our job, no money involved. And I'm the owner of a social media group called Cajun Houseboat Owners. There's 3,000 members I got, and we're from all around this area right here. And they're having the same problem. They got camps out there they can't even get to no more to rebuild since. And this is not from Ida. This has been there.
Yeah, because when they spray it dies, and now the water's low. Because they have other ones, once the water gets even lower, you can see them. So there's 3 other blockages besides this one that not only blocks the water in the passage, is the lilies. So when the lilies break off, or a floatant breaks off from Lake Buff, it gets stuck on this all the way up. So it clogs up the canal all the way. So I don't see how this isn't a drainage issue to begin with, but I'm going to just leave it at that.
That's what I was going to say. We fastly becoming into lily season, and if they get up against this, we're blocked for miles all the way to the lake.
All right, Mr. Roberts, if you want to get Mr. Shasta on your phone number, we definitely appreciate it. Ms. Carlene?
Mr. Taylor Plazos, if you'd come to the podium. There he is. State your name and address for the record, Mr. Plazos, and please remember you have 3 minutes.
Taylor Plazon Sr., 264 East 123rd Street, Galliano, Louisiana. Known as J&K Reynolds. All right, first off, street lights. That's 12 break-ins this month. It's not a good average whenever you only got 15 storages left. FEMA's coming. We all heard that the other day. A lot of council had to leave for it. Nobody came glue my pipes. Nobody showed up to come help me build it. I spent $9 grand this week. Build them some sites. They want to bring sand. Let's block the trailers with sand. what happens with sand in the rain? We fight it with Fouchon, we fight it with everything. Put some blackjack underneath it at least. Something to that effect. Either that or everything's gonna go in the catch basins and I gotta dig it out every 3 months. Can't be that much of a difference in $1. No. They did show up. I still got roughly about 18 mobile home units that the sites are available. Another 40 mobile home units that could be developed. 20 travel trailer sites that's still there that's empty. They showed me hope. They came in, they rented another 16 sites. Wow, now we had 30 out of 120. You know what I mean? It's here. They're teasing, but they're not biting the hook. They're not trying to do it what I think should be done. You know, I mean, like I said, I got land to expand. I can provide up to 400 more units. The grid's there. I don't want to rent 400 lots. I want to make an honest man's living. But next time this happens, they're gonna have a grid to come to. I got a mile of land. If it's too low here, we can go get dirt back there, and I'll bring it. We can make it whatever y'all need to make it. Like I said, this can sit in isolation. It can, however y'all want me to do it. It'll be there. I'll lock it off after the storm's finished with it. I won't use it to make a profit. My main thing is fill up what I had to make my living, and I'll even eliminate my storages because that's how much I want to downsize to have more family time after this. But let's put these grids, these FEMA housing places, let's put them where we know they're going to be protected for the next time somebody comes into this kind of. We ain't got much land between us and the water. It's going to come. It's going to hit. It's going to be bad. They came in, they wanted to redo my power grid. Everything that they came in and they redid, no complaints. They spent money. They put power poles. But everything that's ran is ran in number 6 aluminum. They bypassed my 10-3 because they said it wasn't up to code. Whenever I brought my Fort ground off of a ground rod straight at the box coming into it, ground is ground is ground. I don't care if you get it from 100 feet away or if you get it at your feet. You bring in a ground rod with a wire, you got a ground rod.
Thank you, Mr. Plaisance. Anybody with any questions for Mr. Plaisance?
I just got a quick, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Ote?
By the way, 8 months now. 8 months. The whole trouble was my grid. 8 months and there's still not one camper that tripped the breaker, and everybody still got power and water on my grid. Their grid is all up in the air. What happened to Energy's grid up in the air? Why we couldn't put this in the ground like a normal camper port?
Right.
You know?
I don't think we have those answers, Mr. Ote.
No, we're certainly not going to have, you know that, Taylor. We've talked. But I'll tell you that Pike was in Valentine yesterday doing street lights, so they're still working on the street lights. It's coming, I'm assuming. And I don't know if anybody can give you any update, but I can tell you with certainty, Pike, there was 2 trucks yesterday working on street lights in the Valentine area.
Okay.
Still a long ways away from you.
Okay, I mean, right now I got 26 on my property that's missing. I got 3 street lights. The wife just ordered 14 solar lights. That way I can at least light up to where people won't hit tons of trails.
Right.
My only question for you is, I'm curious to know, the units that are being placed, the ones that you do have, are those 60 foot by 14, or these are some little small camper kind of deals?
Well, I mean, like I say, I got a trailer and a mobile home unit. I mean, we got some people that's coming in with just a single guy. They're putting him in a camper unit. It may be a couple. They're putting him in a camper unit. If it's a family that needs the privacy, I got a husband, a wife, and a kid that's staying in a camper unit because they got a little bunk room. You got to give your kid your privacy. If they got boy and girl, they're putting them into the MHUs. Now, the way that my grid is built, my power line runs along the back side of my trailer park, and I got another 12 acres on this side. It's there. I can put the gravel. I gotta put one lift station and a sewage trunk line and tea and water. And we running. I can get it running in 3 weeks. I can have it ready to go.
That's for the bigger units.
That's for MHUs, and I can put 38 units there.
Well, the only reason I say that is because we're starting to get calls to the smaller units. It seems like they're less set up and I guess sturdy enough to have people living in them. So it's a little bit concerning. The bigger units seem to be structurally more sound and have more safety
Yeah, but they're putting
features.
them on sand.
See,
They're
well,
putting them
yeah.
on sand. I mean, that makes no sense. There's
Understood.
absolutely none. None at all. I know I'm gonna be shoveling sand with my shovel at the catch basin.
Thank you, Mr. Otan. Ms. Lorraine?
Yeah, they've been working more on LA1, but they're fixing the crossover to come to 308 from the Galliana Bridge to the Golometa Bridge, a little bit above that.
Okay.
Not too many lights.
Yeah, I mean,
We're completely out. But they said once they finish with Golometa, they should cross over. So that's how it is when you're at the end of the line.
well, like I said, the wife is going on 8 months now. She's still fighting with the power people that we have not got a credit other than maybe $50, $60 dealing with a light. But in the meantime, I'm paying for 29 security lights down my street.
But we should have something within the next couple of weeks, I would think.
I mean, well,
Thank you.
It is where, I mean, we all got our ass kicked, you know, I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Main thing is, like I say, I got room to put more MHUs, everything that we would need to do. The ponds can handle it, and I appreciate y'all.
Once
Thank
again,
y'all-
we appreciate it, Mr.
Thank y'all
Plaisance.
for putting up with me. I've been a big pain, but thank y'all for listening.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Carleen? All right, that is it. Item L, council reports, news, and announcements. Anyone with anything? Mr. Otan?
Yeah, so first off, I want to thank everyone that participated in the annual Bayou Lafourche cleanup last weekend. I think we had about 75 people that showed up in Lockport, which was great. We had a lot of boats on the water, pulled a lot of tires out of the water. I will, go on the record as saying it seems like 50% or better of the tires that we pull out the Bayou are cut. So basically, somebody is scrapping and grabbing the rims. So I just beg and plead with those that are throwing them in the Bayou to please stop doing it, find a better disposal place for those tires. And I also would ask the community that if you see someone throwing tires, so please report it. There are popped up tire dump sites. We really didn't touch those. We just focused on the ones in the Bayou. But anyway, I just want to thank everyone that showed up, for the Bayou cleanup. My location, I certainly want to thank the fire department. They house us. Of course, Valentine for supplying all the supplies and backhoes and stuff. And Lockwood Rotary because they provided the drinks. So anyway, it was a great outing, great day. The next thing I want to mention is please put on your calendar. I know Mr. President for sure. April 22nd, 23rd, and 24th is the La Fête du Monde Festival. This is a festival that's going to be held at the Pavilion, intersection of LA1 and Highway 90. This is one of those lifeline festivals for several different organizations, Rotary Club of Lockport, the fire department, the museum there in Lockport, as well as the KCs and the Carnival Club. So because of COVID and because of Ida and all these other reasons, we really need to have a successful festival. We're praying for good weather. Please come out. It doesn't cost you anything. There's no ticket to get in. You can come listen to music, spend a few dollars, have a drink, and enjoy some camaraderie with the rest of your community. So hopefully you got it booked there, Mr. President. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Otan. Mr. Lorraine?
Yeah, I want to personally thank the Bayou Lafourche Freshwater District. They cleaned up the bayou pretty much all the way down the coastal, but then we requested that they come to South Lafourche, and they did. So I told Ben jokingly that Bayou Lafourche goes all the way to Piscean. Don't forget that. And so they're really doing a good job. And I mean, man, you can't imagine the trash that these people are picking up. Plenty. A lot of trees and a lot of junk. I guess it came from the hurricane. So I want to thank Ben Marlborough and his board for coming and help us out down the bayou.
Thank you, Mr. Lorraine. Anyone else? All right, for the record, Mr. Melvin has left the chambers. Item M, public hearing and ordinances for ratification. Motion by Mr. Jones, second by Ms. Shasta to open public hearing. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, and 1 absence, that absence being Mr. Melvin. Item number 9, ordinance, excuse me, ordinance requesting that traffic calming devices and the appropriate signage be installed pending appropriate funding is available on St. Louis Street, Raceland, Louisiana, Ward 3, District 6, Parish of Lafourche, State of Louisiana. Motion by Mr. Araby, second by Mr. Grove. Any public discussion? Second call, public discussion. Third and final call, public discussion. Any council discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes, 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Mr. Melvin. Item number 10, ordinance accepting the subdivision known as Milltown Subdivision, Phase C into the parish system. Motion by Mr. Grove, second by Mr. Adams. Any public discussion? Second call for public. Third and final call, public. Any council discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes, 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Mr. Melvin. Item 11, ordinance approving a servitude agreement between Renee B. DiArcangelo, acting power attorney for Emily D. Arcangelo, and Lafourche Parish government in the Raceland area, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relative documents. Motion by Mr. Araby, second by Mr. Otan. Any public discussion? Second call, public. Third and final call, public. Any council discussion? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes, 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Mr. Melvin. Item 12, ordinance accepting the subdivision known as Laurel Grove Subdivision, Addendum Number 1, into the parish system. Motion by Mr. Adams, second by Mr. Jones. Any public discussion? Second call, public. Third and final call, public. Any council discussion? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes, 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Mr. Melvin. Item 13, ordinance amending ordinance number 6583 that approved the 2022 supplemental appropriation 22-001 within the 2022 operations and maintenance budget, increasing the budget for the Consolidated Appropriations Act and the American Rescue Plan funding in the amount of $342,357, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter. Motion by Mr. Jones, second by Mr. Adams. Any public discussion? Second call, public. Third and final call, public. Any council discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes, 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Mr. Melvin. Item 14, ordinance to dededicate the servitude agreement between Brady and Renee Morvant in Lafourche Parish government in the Shoepick area, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Motion by Mr. Adams, second by Mr. Jones. Any public discussion? Second call, public. Third and final call, public. Council discussion. Mr. Adams.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, they taking their servitude back, so we no longer have a right of way to get there?
Yes, sir. So initially we had a right of way to get there. It was deemed that access could not be constructed to get to that pump station, so we have found an alternate route to the pump station. And this right of way, which we won't do because it's too expensive to mitigate for, is hindering the construction of the resident's home. Okay. So they would like it removed. Okay. And it's something we'll never use. Yeah, we won't be able to afford to utilize it.
Right?
That's correct.
That's the one I thought it was. All right, that's what it's checking. All right.
All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes, 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Mr. Melvin. For the record, Mr. Melvin is back in the chambers. Item 15, ordinance providing for a 2021 supplemental appropriation 21-040 within the 2021 operations and maintenance budget and capital outlay budget to adjust for year-end projections to be in compliance with the state budget requirements, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided for by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter. Motion by Mr. Jones, second by Mr. Adams. Any public discussion? Second call, public. Third and final call, public. Any council discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes, 9 yeas, 0 nays. Moved by Mr. Jones, second by Mr. Otan to close public hearing. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes, 9 yeas, 0 nays. Item N, proposed ordinances. Ms. Shasta.
16, proposed ordinance amending ordinance number 1739 to reduce the speed limit from 25 miles per hour to 20 miles per hour on X Bypass Road, Raceland, Louisiana, Ward 3, District 4, Parish of Lafourche, State of Louisiana, providing for the placement of speed limit and caution children at play signs as follows. 120 miles per hour speed limit sign to be placed midway on the right-hand side of the road when turning onto X Bypass Road, and 120 miles per hour speed limit sign to be placed midway on the right-hand side of the road when traveling back up the street on X Bypass Road, and 1 caution children at play sign to be placed on the right-hand side of the road across from 105 by X Bypass Road when turning onto X Bypass Road, and 1 caution children at play sign to be placed on the right-hand side of the road at 105 X Bypass Road while traveling up the street on X Bypass Road and providing penalties for violations thereof. A. Melvin. 17, proposed ordinance to amend Chapter 2, Subchapter B of the Code of Ordinances, Section 101 and 103, to establish and define wards and precincts and establishing polling places. Mr. Jim Wendell. Proposed ordinance to amend Chapter 2, Subchapter B of the Code of Ordinances, Section 102, to establish and define councilmatic districts. J. Wendell. Proposed ordinance approving a consent to assignment and amendment of surface lease and canal use permit between the Louisiana Land and Exploration Company, LLC, South Lafourche Levy District, and Lafourche Parish Government for the Golden Meadow Boat Launch, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and amendment and any and all relevant documents. Mr. Daniel Lorraine for administration. Proposed ordinance 20, approving an assignment of surface lease between Energy XXI, GOM, LLC, and Lafourche Parish Government for a 0.06 acre tract of property, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said lease and any and all relevant documents. Mr. Jim Wendell for administration. Proposed ordinance approving an act of donation between Energy XXI, GOM, LLC, and Lafourche Parish Government for the donation of a communications tower, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said donation and any and all relevant documents. Mr. Jim Wendell for administration. 22, proposed ordinance amending ordinance number 6581 that approved a lease agreement between Alain Libreton Company, LLC, and the parish of Lafourche for leasing property to operate and maintain an existing 300-foot self-supporting communications antennas tower, which tower is owned by Lafourche Parish Government, and are authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Mr. Jim Wendell for administration. Proposed ordinance approving a servitude agreement between Tillman Griffin Jr. and Carmen Godet Griffin and the Lafourche Parish Government in the Raceland area, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Mr. Terry Araby for administration. 24, proposed ordinance approving a servitude agreement between Lester Martin Jr. and Haley Martin and Lafourche Parish Government in the Raceland area, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Mr. Terry Araby for administration.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Item O, resolutions. Item 25, resolution requesting Lafourche Parish Register of Voters to advertise a notice of vacancy in their office through Lafourche Parish Government's Department of Human Resources, and to request the Lafourche Parish Register of Voters to advertise the vacancy in the official journal, the Daily Comment, and post the advertisement on the Lafourche Parish Government's website. Motion by Mr. Jones, second by Mr. Adams. Any discussion?
Yeah, I wanna,
Mr. Lorraine?
first of all, the register of voters, the only thing the council has authority on is to select the register of voters. Usually when you get selected a register of voter, you're in for life, retirement, or you pass. The 40 years that I've been up here, you had Mr. Diaz, and he went until he passed. Then you had Miss Mary Ducey, she went till she passed. Now you got Mr. Mike Boudreaux. He has 2 state employees, civil service state. And he has a deputy under him. He could put whoever he wants as deputy register voters. The deputy register voters went for a job in Assumption and she got chosen. So she's leaving. So that position becomes available. And he's got 2 state civil service. Now, he could put one of them if he wants, or he could put basically whoever he wants. The council has no jurisdiction on this. We fund his office, but the only jurisdiction the parish council has is to appoint the register of voters. That's it. So why, you can't supersede the parish can't supersede state law. And that's what's being attempted here. You can't do it. So that's about the best I can explain it.
Thank you, Mr. Lorraine. Mr. Jones.
Well, Mr. Rain, let me see, can I explain it a little better? Because that's the best. Maybe you didn't go to the state. Just maybe you went straight to Boudreaux, like I did. And he told me the same thing. It was against state regulation to advertise in this parish for people that live in this parish to get a job. I called the state, visit with the state. State said no such thing. They would like and would love for this parish to advertise, parish journal, which is Daily Comic, or the parish website. There's no law with the state saying that it's illegal for them to advertise with the state.
But that's what you're saying.
No, this is what I got from the state.
You expect me to believe that?
Well, that's whether or not you believe it or not. I'm not going to falsify a thing like you.
I'm not falsifying
I'm telling
nothing.
you exactly what I got. And if you want to just pinpoint somebody saying, hey, hire somebody without other people knowing in this parish, then that's you. But this old politic days is not going to happen with this council. There's nothing wrong with advertising this parish to get the people in this parish to work for the registered voters office. Sure, they can hire one, the deputy director. But you know how many deputy directors he had in the last 2 years? Everybody can't be a deputy director. So I'm asking this council, it's a request, it's going to the state, and it came from the Human Resource Department. I got the information from. And if you'd like to have the name and the number, I would give it to you. So I'm asking this council, please vote for this.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Otan.
Yeah, I don't question Jerry's integrity and so at all, but for me personally, this is not a legislative function, so I'm not going to be supporting it, but I believe what you're saying, Jerry, 100%. For me, I don't feel like it's a legislative function, so I won't be voting in favor of it, for me.
Anyone else? Mr. Adams.
Yeah, my only question is, are they paid by the state or parish? That's my only question.
We got a couple of people that's paid, we take about $200,000 a year in that budget. Am I right by saying that?
So I'm just asking, do you sign their paychecks?
Partially, yeah.
Okay, that was my only question with it was, who signs their paychecks? Because, I understand it could be a state job, but if the parish is paying for it, then yeah, it should be advertised in the parish. But if it's a state job, it could be advertised, it doesn't have to be advertised in the parish. That's my question.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Anyone else? All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? All right, ayes were, y'all too? Aye, aye. All right, motion fails with 2 yeas, 6 nays, and 1 abstention, that abstention being Mr. Wendell.
Okay.
All right, item 26, resolution appointing 1 member, Lafourche Parish Commission for Women Board. Motion by Mr. Grove. Mr. Grove, who do you have?
Ms. Donna Gravois.
Ms. Gravois. Can I get a second on Ms. Gravois? Second by Mr. Otan. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes, 9 yeas, 0 nays.
Second, I'm sorry, I'm still writing my vote.
Otan.
Thank you.
Item 27, resolution reappointing 1 member of the Fire Protection District Number 8B Board. Motion by Mr. Adams. Mr. Adams, who do you have?
Reappointing Keisha Chanel.
All right, second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes, 9 yeas, 0 nays. Item 28, resolution appointing 1 member to Hospital Service District Number 1 Board. Motion by Mr. Lorraine. Mr. Lorraine, who do you have?
Mr. Mike Colley.
Mr. Mike Colley, second by Mr. Otan. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 9 yeas, 0 nays. Item 29, resolution approving change order number 5 for the project titled Marydale Sewer System Improvements, increasing the contract price by $64,830 and adding 37 additional days to the contract time, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said change order and any and all relevant documents. Motion by Mr. Jones, second by Mr. Adams. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 9 yeas, 0 nays. Item number 30, resolution approving agreement between Louisiana Department of Culture, Recreation and Tourism, Office of the State Museum, and Lafourche Parish Government for a kayak boat launch on the Edward Douglas White Historic Site, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Motion by Mr. Adams, second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion? Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as I noted in the summary, guys, we were approached by some folks who wanted some more recreational access to the bayou now that the weir is gone. Lieutenant Governor Nungesser reached out because we thought about the E.D. White Historic Site because it already has an existing dock that the Jean Lafitte Center uses to do some boat tours in the bayou. So we actually spoke to Jack at T. Baker of coming up with a little plan for us to add an existing or an expansion of that dock to get people down there a little safer. And then Friends of Bayou Lafourche and the Bayou Lafourche Freshwater District are actually going to chip in and provide the actual floating dock portion of it. So this is just the agreement with the state to get us started.
Thank you, sir. Resolution 30, motion by Mr. Adams, second by Mr. Jones. Mr. Groh.
I have a quick, so is it a floating dock like Layton being proposed, or one like downtown Thibodeau, kind of with actual, where you can put your boat in?
It'll be more like Layton.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 9 yeas, 0 nays. Item 31, resolution approving the recommendation of the Office of Coastal Zone Management to deny the barriers across Mormon canals and natural waterways. Permit submitted by Mr. Larry Blanchard for the construction of 2 gates along Dixie Canal in Thibodaux, Louisiana, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relative documents. Motion by Mr. Adams to deny, second by Mr. Jones. We do have some speakers before discussion.
Mr. Charlie Bourgeois, you've come to the podium. Mr. Bourgeois, state your name and address for the record. Please remember you have 3 minutes.
Okay, my name's Charlie Bourgeois, 418 Rue Grand Chien, Thibodaux, Louisiana. I represent the 5th Ward Gravity Drainage District. We perform maintenance on the Dixie Canal, and our recommendation is to deny construction of gates on the Dixie Canal. These gates will restrict access since there are no boat launches on the west end of that canal. And secondly, and most importantly, these gates obstruct drainage by collecting floating debris such as fallen trees and aquatic vegetation. We've dealt with these in the past, and they present a problem.
Anybody with any questions for Mr. Bourgeois? Thank you very much, Mr. Bourgeois. Ms. Carlene.
Mr. Larry Blanchard Jr.? Okay. State your name and address for the record, Mr. Blanchard.
Larry Blanchard Jr., my address is 1740 Highway 304, Thibodaux in the Shoe Pick area. The reason that I'm asking for these permits is in recent years we've had tailless alligators floating near our cabins, dead coons thrown on the bank. I've had game cameras stolen. We've had to call the law over people shooting after dark on my property. I have a deer stand.
Can you move closer to the mic?
I have a deer stand on the canal that has been shot through and through with a shotgun. My kids play back there on that property. We fish back there on the property. We've been having a lot of trouble. Is the canal public access or not? I don't know. That's why I'm here, to find out. I asked the council to approve the permit, considering that the canal should not be public access. The Office of Coastal Zone Management has asked the permit to be denied because of the access issue of the adjacent landowners not being able to access their property through the drainage canal. The State Land Office has no objections to the gates, which tells me that it's not a state land water bottom that would have public access. why should the adjacent landowners have the access from the canal when they can cross the canal on their own property? I do not think the council should deny the permit on basis of access from the adjacent landowners.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Blanchard? Mr. Lorraine?
Yeah, is that a navigable canal?
I don't believe it is, sir. According to the state land office,
Because by law, a navigable canal cannot be blocked, but there's a bunch of them that are blocked.
I
I've
agree.
been-
I agree.
I've
But the
been
state land
hitting
off-
this for as long as I've been a councilman.
The state land
And
office,
if you look at the parish ordinance, you really can't block it. I got a copy of it at my house. I'll send it to Boo.
Thank you, Ms. Lorraine. Mr. Melvin?
Yes, thank you for coming on, I appreciate it. So, I'm not a gate person simply because everything in Louisiana is gated. However, let me ask you this. That was a case I looked at in my district where this guy had his own canal that he dug. It was drainage for the neighborhood, but it was his canal on his property, and it drained into the 40. But he gated that because he didn't want people coming from the 40 onto his private land where his canal is to do whatever they were doing, trespassing, taking crawfish out the pond, whatever, what have you. I'm trying to figure out where this canal is, and is the canal itself public?
I don't think the canal itself is public. I think it was dug with public funds. Right now, they're actually redigging it out, but they shouldn't make it public access.
I'm just trying to picture this compared to the 40 or, you know, like,
This-
Kind of like the 40 runs behind all their houses, and it goes back to all the way, goes to, yeah. It goes to, it goes on both sides, actually, something and something, and it goes all into the mountains. I mean,
Correct. But it wasn't a natural barrier from what I understand, and,
yeah, it was man-made for drainage.
Right.
That's the only thing, that's my only problem.
so it wasn't,
My only problem is it was made for drainage,
Mhm.
and the gates, again, like he says, will stop the drainage, because it shouldn't be people back there, but
the design of the gate.
you're not
was
gonna stop you from going back there no matter what. Again, the gates, I'm just worried about the gates or whatever's put to block the drainage, because that's what it was made for. It was for drainage. Now, as far as like a navigable canal, like you were asking, like people will go back there, yeah, they go back there, but I don't think they should. But again, that's not me.
So is it the council's opinion that it's private property, except for
Need to talk into the
Lafourche
mic.
Parish being able to,
Well, we clean it out, so
Right.
that's a right of way.
I understand,
And
no
you
problem.
can't block a right of way from my understanding. And that's where I get it at, you know.
But I mean, the parish would be welcome, I would not.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
understand.
They would
It's
have the
just-
opportunity any time to come on it.
Yeah,
I think it should be just like the levees that they build behind people's houses.
I don't think anybody should be on those either.
Right, and they shouldn't, it's not public access.
Yeah.
It doesn't, just because it's a drainage canal, it should not be public
Yeah,
access.
and
The only way I know to keep people out is to build a gate.
Yeah, and I'm with you to keep people out, but I don't think you can put a gate right in the middle of it, because I think end up blocking stuff up.
I'm gonna have two pilings and the rest thing is gonna be
Yeah.
above the water.
I understand, it's just, I don't know, if we can block the public waterway or whatever.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. President, you had something? All right. Thank you, Mr. Blanchard.
Thank you.
Ms. Carleen?
That's it.
That's it. All right. Item 31, resolution to recommend denying the barriers. Motion by Mr. Adams, second by Mr. Jones. Any more discussion? All in favor? All opposed? All right, motion passes with 8 yeas, 1 nay. Item 32, resolution approving an agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and Piscean and Associates Incorporated for the project titled Bridge Rehabilitation Project, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Motion by Ms. Shasta, second by Mr. Adams. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes, 9 yeas, 0 nays. Item 33, resolution approving an agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and Piscean and Associates Incorporated for the project titled Sugarland Subdivision Statewide Flood Control Project, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Motion by Mr. Araby, second by Mr. Ota. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes, 9 yeas, 0 nays.
Mr. Chairman, we're going to pull number 34.
Yes, item 34 has been pulled. Item 35, resolution approving an agreement between the Governor's Office of Homeland Security Emergency Preparedness and the Lafourche Parish Government for a grant under the Flood Mitigation Assistance, FMA, grant program for the project titled 2019 FMA Elevation Project 1, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Motion by Mr. Lorraine, second by Mr. Araby. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes, 9 yeas, 0 nays. Item 36, resolution approving an agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and Joe Stark, DVM, to provide in-house veterinary services at the Lafourche Parish Animal Shelter, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Motion by Mr. Jones, second by Ms. Shasta. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes, 9 yeas, 0 nays. Item 37, resolution supporting the submittal of a grant application for fiscal year 2021-2022, funding through the State of Louisiana Office of Community Development, Local Government Assistance Program, LGAP, and to renovate and repair parish buildings located in Thibodeau and Matthews, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relative documents. Motion by Mr. Groves, second by Mr. Araby. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes, 9 yeas, 0 nays. Item number 38, resolution accepting a grant in the total amount of $30,000 from Lafourche Education Foundation for Lafourche Parish Head Start, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Motion by Ms. Shasta, second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion, Mr. President?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to first thank LEF for the grant award, and thank Ms. Huddleston and the staff and Head Start for putting together a great application to get the money.
Yes, definitely. All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes, 9 yeas, 0 nays. Item number 39, resolution indicating the intention of the parish of Lafourche, State of Louisiana, to proceed with the issuance of not to exceed $110 million Louisiana Local Government Environmental Facilities and Community Development Authority revenue bonds for Lafourche Parish Hurricane Ida Recovery Project, and otherwise providing with respect thereto as provided by Chapter 10-D of Title 33 of Louisiana Revised Statutes of 1950 as amended, employing bond counsel, independent registered municipal advisor, and underwriter placement agent, authorizing an application to the State Bond Commission. Motion by Ms. Chasson, second by Mr. Adams. And Ms. Carleen, we do have a speaker.
Yes, sir. Mr. Harold Block, would you approach the podium? Mr. Block, state your name and address for the record, please. Remember, you have 3 minutes.
Yes, ma'am, I know I have to do that. Harold Block, 408 West 3rd Street, Thibodeau, Louisiana. In this item, this resolution is additional Hurricane Ida recovery bonds, primarily for the purpose of repair of pumps and pump stations and other items that can be included. The bonds will be issued through LCDA. In this resolution, you're designating bond counsel, Block and Bouterie, a financial advisor, Jim Ryan, who is with governmental consultants, and underwriters, Stifel and Cruz and Company. You're also authorizing an application to the State Bond Commission. And basically, this issue is very similar to what was done before. You had an $11 million bond issue for Hurricane Ida recovery. This is just a bigger bond issue. The amount cannot be greater than $110 million, and I'll come back to that in just a minute, and the interest rate cannot be more than 5%. The final amount of the bonds will be based upon the list of projects and the budgets for the projects. The bonds will be repaid with both FEMA funds and insurance proceeds, and the parish does put up some relatively small percentage. If we stay on schedule, the closing will take place on August the 4th, 2022. Again, going back to the amount of the bonds, President Shasta told me that they're going to have a list of the projects with a list of the budgets as of tomorrow. Archie, does that sound right? Tomorrow. And based upon what the budgets and the projects are, then we will know what the amount of the bond issue will be. but it's a large bond issue for the parish of Lafourche. Of course, we had great damage and we have great repair needs for the parish, and again, this is primarily for pumps and pump stations, but it can also be for other things.
Yes, sir. Any questions for Mr. Block? Mr. Otan?
Yeah, I'll just emphasize, as I've stated before, is that for the administration to do everything they can to make sure that this debt doesn't carry over into the next administration, that this all gets expired before we all, go into the next, or whoever takes over the next office. So I'll just keep emphasizing that. We've got to struggle. I know it might be tough, but we've really got to try to keep that debt down, because who knows what the future holds in the next administration, et cetera.
Thank you, Mr. Otan. Mr. President?
Yeah, and look, Nuni, I don't know about that. just because, and I say that just because of the repayment schedule from FEMA, right? Our damage inventory, and as I was mentioning to Harold, and I think I've said this before at council meetings, our total public infrastructure damage totals somewhere around $107 million, right? So 35 or 36 of that plus a little bit is going to be made up of insurance proceeds from the insurance company on the buildings. The rest of that is going to be built off of FEMA dollars for the pump stations, right? We have $44 million in pump station repair needs off the top. So it's going to be it's going to be tricky to get that reimbursed in a year and a half. But we'll see what we could do. Our damage inventory is going to be submitted to FEMA next week. So as I mentioned, I was leery to do this when we did the $11 million bond, because I knew that $110 million number was going to scare some people. That's why we did the $11 million to get the engineers and the architects moving. They're pushing along. We're getting scopes written, projects ready to go out to bid. First going to be the roofs on all the buildings and some of the pump work. But we're running down a parallel path that by the time August 4th comes around, that damage inventory will be submitted. We'll have some projects obligated by FEMA. So we'll have some notice to the bondholders to say, look, you guys are going to get paid back for this. It's not just us going out on a whim. We wanted to have those FEMA projects obligated before we got to the point of closing. One, to make you guys feel comfortable, and two, to make whoever's going to go out and buy these bonds feel comfortable that we were going to be able to repay them without a huge issue.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Lorraine?
Yeah, so what happens if FEMA doesn't really come across to the full extent? Then the parish would be liable to pick up whatever they don't come up with?
So we're on the hook for 10% of whatever, right? That's going to be our portion to
No, you're not necessarily going to bond out 110 million. It's up to 110 million.
Yeah, and
right?
even though, so let's say, and I gave Mr. Harold that $90 million number. So let's say the final bond number is $90 million. In 6 months, if FEMA kicks back a few of these pump station projects or something, then we figure out a separate plan for those. We don't just go do them knowing that we're not going to get paid back. It's going to be a little bit of a back and forth to make sure that we're going to get paid back by FEMA before we obligate any money out of this pot to pay that.
So that's not being risky with whether it's your administration or another administration, like he's saying?
Well, if I don't spend it,
I gamble a lot, but I don't like to gamble like this.
But if I don't spend it, I don't have to pay it back. So what I'm saying is, if FEMA doesn't obligate the project, then I'm not on the hook for it, because we never touched any of that money.
Okay, if they don't.
Just because we bond, quote unquote bond, it doesn't mean we draw it out the account.
Doesn't mean, okay.
That's right.
Okay, man, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lorraine. Mr. Grove?
Yeah, I'm concerned about that, just the sheer amount of, 110 million. I mean, you're right, that I was scared at 11, Who sets it's up to 5%?
I'm sorry, say that again?
The interest rate is up to 5%?
Up to 5%, correct.
Is that on a scale, is that set by the federal government?
It'll be set by the bond market. In other words, when we go to market on August 4th, whatever the bond market is then, that will set the rate.
And what's it been average? I mean, are we at a good point right now with the bond?
I think the last one we did.
I know the last one was good, the timing was good.
Yeah, well, Jim Ryan, who unfortunately could not be here tonight, is your financial advisor. And everyone on our bond team has a role. And really, it's not only not my job to tell you what the rate will be, but I can get in trouble if I start giving you financial advice. What I can tell you in general is the market right now is bouncing around like, the interest rate market is bouncing around like crazy. So it's really difficult to give you any kind of projection.
What if it bounces over 5?
Things have not been steady the way they were for the last 10, 12, 15 years.
What if it bounces over 5?
Then the bonds won't be sold.
It won't be sold.
You're authorizing up to 5%.
And Councilman Grove, just so you know, this is not an atypical deal, right? You look at the school system in Lafourche, they went over $100 million in bonds. Terrebonne School District did over $200 million. The levy districts combined, I think, are somewhere around the $100 million mark. I mean, this is, it's not just us. And this is really, at the end of the day, the only option you got, unless you truly wanted to wait 2 years for FEMA to actually give you that money instead of obligating the project and cash flowing it up front.
And we got a lot of bills coming in we're waiting to pay, too. I mean, we got.
No doubt.
Mr. President, you can add to that list the Diocese of Home of Thibodeau, because we're handling that we probably will handle that transaction, and it's going to be over $100 million.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Grove. Mr. Melvin, you want to speak?
Well, I was going to wait till later, but I mean, it's just, to me, I mean, we have to do it at some point. However, and I believe in paying money back when you borrow money. However, it amazes me that over the years of my lifetime and seeing the billions and trillions we send overseas at the drop of a hat, but here we got to go through a trip to the moon to get money to help us out. Well, we're going to write a check to this country and that country and all these other countries. It's a sad day when we got to look at that.
Thank you, Mr. Melvin. Thank you, Mr. Block. Any further discussion? All right, Resolution 39, motion by Ms. Shasta, second by Mr. Adams. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes, 9 yeas, 0 nays. Item number 40, resolution appointing one member to Lafourche Parish Community Action Advisory Board, Low Income Sector, North Lafourche Region. Motion by Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, who do you have?
At this time, I'd like to nominate Ms. Sheila Price.
Ms. Sheila Price, second by Mr. Adams. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes, 9 yeas, 0 nays. Item P, Parish President, Department Head, Directors, or Managers' Reports, Presentations, and/or Updates. Item 41, Department of Public Works Representative to permit a report. Mr. Barone, good evening, sir.
Good evening, thank you. I apologize, this slide's a little lengthy tonight, but I'll try to roll through it as fast as we can. As always, starting with the Thibodeau Field Office, Oakland Lane, replace rotten access culvert. Layton Pump Station, replace gear head on pump number 2. Layton Pump Station Canal, remove debris from canal. Aber Ditch, cut grass. Bayou Vista Drive, swept roadside ditches. Country Club, swept roadside ditches. Supercharged Drive, swept roadside ditches. Moving to the Choctaw Field Office, this is Choctaw Road, swept roadside ditches. Clean culverts. And Laurel Valley Road, swept roadside ditches and clean culverts. Moving to Bayou Field Office, this is Chisholm Trail, installed driveway culvert. Bayou Bypass Road, swept roadside ditches. Charnel Drive, repaired road at cross culvert. And for the Raceland Field Office, this is the Donald Falls outfall, swept outfall. Mitchell Road, swept roadside ditches. Acadia outfall, swept outfall. Greenville and St. Patrick Street, swept drainage ditches. Market Street, swept roadside ditches. Sugar Mill Road, swept drainage ditch. Moving to Lockwood Field Office. This was a training we held 2 weeks ago on the vac truck. This is on St. Anthony Street. And as you probably all noticed, walking in, the vac truck is parked outside. We plan to put it to work tomorrow morning. Emile Drive, replace collapsed driveway culvert. Humble Pump Station, installed portable backup pump. This station is a Humble Pump Station. It's a very old station. It took a little bit of damage to Ida, and just as a precautionary measure, we have this portable pump station there in the event that the pump would go down. Nolan Toops outfall, cleared debris from canal. This is a Rita pump station, installed a float tube. This is for the automation system on the pump. East 12th Street outfall, swept outfall. East 18th Street, replace collapsed driveway culvert. East 18th Street, swept roadside ditch. Galliana Pontoon Bridge, this was an emergency repair. We actually lost power at that bridge on a Friday evening about 3 weeks ago. And if you know the bridge, everything is on the opposite side. So as we lost power, we couldn't control the lift gate on the other side, and it actually started to fall. So we had to get an excavator moved out at about 11 o'clock at night to pick it up so we could close the bridge once we regained power. Moving to Galliana Field Office. This is East 39th Street, swept roadside ditches. East 47th Street, installed driveway culvert. East 146th Street, replaced collapsed driveway culvert. This is a Terrebonne concrete outfall, swept the outfall. West 159th Street, swept roadside ditches. Yankee Canal levee, repaired levee. This is a contract we had completed by Byron Talbert. This is the Landry Lane Bridge. As you see on the left, there was an old wooden bridge, and we replaced it with a culverted crossing. And then you'll see the more finished product as of today. There's still handrails left to be installed, but it is complete. We're going to roll into a bunch of stuff that was completed by our maintenance contractor. For the most part, this was all concrete panels replaced on some of the streets that you all have been asking us for, I'm going to say the last 18 months to 2 years. I'll just run through them rather quickly. Stating the street, this is Aspen Drive, Blackberry Drive, Kleinpeter Drive, Westside Boulevard and Persimmon, Westside Boulevard, Superior Drive, Plantation at Avenue B. This is the cul-de-sac on Plantation. Renee Drive, Lee Drive, Pine Ridge Street, Providence Avenue. This is the Providence Avenue Drainage Improvements Project. As far as the office work for our DPW, we obtained 3 permanent servitude agreements. We had 1 major subdivision inspection and 8 property re-subdivision reviews. 32 culvert permits and 1 fence permit were issued. 45 online work requests were received. 172 permits were reviewed for compliance. We also are continuing to assist AGA with Hurricane Ida damage assessments at all damaged facilities. That's ongoing. We currently have 16 projects that we're reviewing in design phase, 8 projects that are under construction. As far as the new online work order system, we uploaded all existing work orders from 2020 into present into the system. Trainings are scheduled for this week and next. We plan an internal go-live date of May 1st and a parish-wide go-live date of June 1st. So we'll keep you all posted as that progresses. And that is it. Any questions?
You don't have to apologize for the length of the presentation. That means we're getting stuff done. Mr. Adams.
Yeah, so I see you got some projects up there. So we haven't talked about this in a while. I'm talking about the raising the road in DeSalmans, the road that runs on the side. Is that one of those projects we're looking at? Because we were supposed to have gotten an engineer. And
Yep, those conversations started right before the hurricane. We actually brought that up about 2 weeks ago. We're going to restart that process.
Okay. That's all I want to know.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. Grove.
Yeah, just a quick, I guess, cliff notes on a new program for work orders. If a constituent puts one in, they'll be able to follow it from start to finish. They'll be able to go in.
Yes, sir. If they want to be notified on it, they can be notified.
And if we put one in
You can
on
do the same.
behalf of a constituent and copy them some kind of way, they can be notified of.
I'm not sure if they can be
text messages.
copied. Robbie, you know that answer?
So if you get the constituent's email, you can put their you can fill it out as them.
Can they put
And
multiple
would get
emails?
the
Put more than one person to get.
I'll definitely double check. I'm not absolutely sure, but I can find out.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can do email or text message. You can do both. And there's actually like an interactive map that they can look at. As long as they don't really need their email, if they have the work order number, they can always go back and look up that number. So as long as you fill it out and you give them the number later, and you opt out of getting notifications, and you send them that number, they can go to the online portal, look up just that number, and it'll tell them exactly where it's at.
Thank you, Robbie. Thank you, Mr. Grove. Mr. Melvin.
Yeah, thank you, Dylan, I appreciate it.
Yes,
And
sir.
thanks y'all for the back truck. I can't wait to put it to work carefully and just don't break it. Real quick, I know myself included, I rented a man lift this last weekend, trimmed some trees. A lot of folks are doing that. We see some frints. I like to think it's post debris, but the point is people are making upgrades, spring cleaning. You know when they're gonna start picking up tree stuff, like they used to on a regular basis?
So River Birch is currently doing that. They're just
Okay, I'm
overwhelmed,
making
but they
sure.
are
Great.
working on it.
Perfect. Real quick, also, for South Coast Gas, I know I sent you an email. We need to really get on them a little bit, because if they're supposed to set it back to how it was before, granted, there's not a pothole, but there's one street, it's a bunch of blacktop, looks like moguls of the Olympic swim course, ski course, because, you know, it's supposed to be cement. Can they put cement, not blacktop, where it's leveled, so to speak? So we need to look at that, please. Also, I know that the cement line ditch we talked about, I don't know if you can give me an update on what you're looking at to get some of the vegetation cut, sprayed, or what have you before it starts in the old ditch, not the new one.
Yeah, so we actually reviewed that last week. Mr. Troy Babin, who I introduced to you, he went out on the site, looked at it. We have a plan in place. We're going to give it a shot, see how it works. We're going to have to put
Okay.
people in the ditch and a boat in the ditch. That's the best way we can do it.
Okay, and lastly, fairway again, I know we're looking at it. I know some areas, some things we can do and maybe waiting for something to happen, but do you know when we can maybe have another look at it and see?
Yeah, we're currently waiting on a proposal from Submar at this time. That's our third option that we're chasing down. President Shasta reached out to him last week for an update.
Yeah, so I think we shot you an email last week that we were hoping to have something by the end of this week. So as soon as we
That's
get
fine,
something,
yeah.
we'll bring you in and we'll take a look at it.
Thank you.
And we're happy to entertain a meeting either tomorrow sometime or next week. I know you want to talk about it, so we can
Yeah.
do that as well.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Melvin. Mr. Otan.
Yeah, Dylan, so normally I get my questions answered before the meeting, but one of them piqued my interest, which was the pictures of the culvert installation and what seemingly looked like previously was a bridge.
Yes, sir.
So it was a bridge, that wasn't a temporary bridge over culverts.
No, sir. That was a permanent wooden structure, but we removed it.
So my question is, so we had this meeting with the state, you know, they're gonna be, again, sometime, should be imminent with the replacement of those bridges on 308. And the discussion was, 5 years ago, it was gonna be replaced with culverts, et cetera. And then the last meeting with Chris, he said that was cost prohibitive. So my question to you is it truly cost prohibitive or not? I mean, or did we look at that, or is this a longer term fix for the culverts, or basically why culverts and why not return to the bridge?
So, we had an engineer study it. I think this is a much more long-term fix. The materials we use should have no issue long-term. It is HS20 load rated, and I do believe it was a lot more effective cost-wise to do it this way.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I can get exact numbers for you, but.
No, I'm just, like I said, it just piqued my interest because we specifically were told by Chris that they're not gonna do the culverts, it's gonna be bridge replacement.
Now, on that one, you know, it might be the sheer amount of water they have to flow through. This is two 48-inch pipes. You know, it was a very small bridge, two 48-inch pipes. To mobilize equipment down that street, mobilization would have been one of the larger items in a small bridge project. Now, this thing only spanned maybe 18, 20 feet over a canal. So we were able to do it with small-scale infrastructure, so I think that was a big savings for us. I mean, full transparency, this thing was less than $100,000 to do the entire project, and the contractor did it, so.
Thank you, Mr. Otan.
I think when you get to big, they're probably looking at large concrete box culverts, that gets really expensive really quick.
Yeah, specifically what I recall is he talked about the base, is working on the bases, which really costs a lot, but. you know,
Maybe so, yeah, mucking it out. You got it.
Thank you, Mr. Otan. Mr. Arabi.
Mr. Dillon, just a couple of things.
Yes, sir.
I know we approved the servitude agreement tonight for the DD2 Southball,
Yes, sir.
but I saw they had some other proposed ordinance which will be on the next agenda, I guess, with, is those two proposed ordinance gonna stop us from working on that outfall, or can we work with the outfall now?
So were the two proposed, you talking about the Martin and the Griffin one?
Right.
We've already done the work. We did that with Whole Harmlessness, completed the work.
Okay.
In that area. We just getting it for a more permanent solution. So no, it's not gonna stop the work. That's gonna.
So now that this is finally approved, we ought to better start seeing some operation over there.
Yes, sir. We also approved the statewide flood application for Piscean and Associates.
Right.
My first ask of them is to study this area and make sure that everywhere we need to send water through, it's gonna be adequate to accept that water. So it may hold off a little bit because we wanna do it once and do it right. That'd be the only thing
I
that hold up,
understand.
but
I understand. I
it's
just
not,
wanna
it's
make
not
sure
gonna hold
that-
up 6 months.
I just want to make sure we're still in
Yes, sir.
progress. Other thing, I spoke to you a while back about the South Leon drainage, and I think you said the second week in April,
Okay,
and that's this week, and I don't see anything yet.
I'll follow up on it.
Can you follow up on,
Yep.
see that, because that needs to be cleaned and blown out with, maybe with your new cover machine. And no update yet on the state, on the rest of the,
No, sir, we're gonna reach back out to them tomorrow on both items that I spoke to you about and see what we can get moving.
thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Araby. And Mr. Jones would like to address Mr. Lafourche.
Mr. Lafourche,
Yes, sir, Mr. Jones.
as usual, you do a great job. Can I get an update on the Diplomat Way ditch along Miss Adams' property?
Yeah, we actually spoke about that today. I'm going to email the city of Thibodaux and see if I can get them to shore up their utilities. We're just gonna go ahead and do it instead of trying to figure out who it's for and all that stuff. It's on the borderline. Zoning map doesn't show a real good location of what city and what's parish. So we're just gonna go ahead and take care of it. I'm gonna ask that the city of Thibodaux shore up their utilities so they don't have any failures or issues when we go in there to sweep it.
Okay, we letting the city of Thibodaux do the sewer line?
Yes, shore
And
up all
that
of their
gas line?
utilities, right.
Sure. All right,
Make sure
great.
everything can accept excavation in that area.
Great, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Thank you, Dylan.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
I think we might have covered most of this, but item Q, questions for the administration, anyone? Mr.
I do.
Lorraine?
First of all, we still have some problems in South Lafourche. Number one, trash. Are they gonna be sending some more trucks in the future?
So as I told you guys a couple of meetings ago, we were kind of waiting for it to pile back up. The debris, the monitors are coming back on the 18th, and they're gonna run the entire parish and map it out, let us know where the piles are, where they have to hit. We'll turn that information over to DRC, and a couple days after they're done mapping it, the trucks will begin to roll back in.
And don't forget Leeville from the bridge to the boat launch.
That's on the list.
And because I've been having a lot of people calling me, they trying to get it picked up, but River Birch can't keep up.
Yeah,
There's no way.
No.
So if you do that, everybody can't put everything out at one time, so that's understandable.
And like I said, Councilman Lorraine, we knew River Birch wasn't gonna be able to keep up to a certain extent. And we're gonna be on this on again, off again for probably 6 to 8 months, right? They're gonna pick up this next batch over the course of the end of April, then they're gonna leave again. And you're gonna have people who are gonna gut their homes in a couple of weeks. It's all gonna pile back up. We're gonna do the same thing over
Right,
and
it's
over and over.
gonna pile back.
It's gonna be a
sure.
cycle, yeah.
But River Birch, when they get to the southern end of the parish, they can only make 2 trips a day to Avondale. That's what really kills us.
And we are working, we had some initial conversations a couple of weeks ago. We're working to set up another meeting with trying to figure out how to create a transfer station on 182. That would not only be a transfer station for River Birch to drop stuff, but the number one complaint we got after the storm was that the public didn't have a free place to dump. Right, so we're trying to address that ahead of this next hurricane season and opening up the old landfill as a transfer station where people show you driver's license, you live in Lafourche, drop your load of trees, drop your load of stuff, and then we'll combine it and River Birch will haul it out on some type of periodic basis.
But for the residents, they still do that at, behind the Chinese garden.
That's right.
If you go commercial, they're gonna charge you.
That's right.
Okay, so that's out the way. We got something going with the Leeville boat launch and the Golomata boat launch coming?
Yeah, so I gave PCO and Associates the authority to go to bid today on both of those projects. The Leeville boat launch is just gonna be getting 3 quotes because of the amount we're gonna be at. We're not gonna have to physically bid it for 30 days. The Golomata boat launch, Mr. Babin went out with Mr. Bruce. We repaired one of the docks to the best we could. The other one's pretty well shot, so we blocked it off. But Joe's gonna go through a bid process to repair those 2 docks as well as build that fishing pier. So in 30 days, we'll have a bid price for you.
And then now the next 2 is the Golomata Library. Is that gonna be,
So we had a building committee meeting with the library on Monday night. We're still we're working through the prices, get prices to demo the existing building. We're waiting on one more, and Mitch may have it. I didn't talk to him about it today. But we're gonna demo it, and then we're trying to figure out, based on the community input about what Troy and Billy Joe and those guys have told me, what that footprint is gonna look like.
now the big one is, Golomata needs to be addressed, but South Lafourche, that's the hub of the people of South Lafourche. You used to have the DA's office in there, the permits office, the clerk of court, the register of voters, the assessor. Community action was in there too. Now they moved to cutoff. But I want to thank the district attorney because she comes, or her staff comes, or her, to Golden Meadow twice a week. Of course, I understand that the assessor and the clerk, they would come too, but they have no place to go. So people from the south got to drive mostly to Thibodaux. And listen, that's almost a whole day. And gas is not cheap, $4 a gallon. So when you go meet with Biden, tell him to lower that gas price.
Yeah, okay.
You hear?
So we did just to let you guys know in the Galliana complex, we did a walkthrough. Mitch went down there with Ms. Laura Sanders from the library, Ms. Huddleston from Head Start, to walk through it with the architect. So the design is active. I still think you're going to cross-eye me when I say this. We're probably a year and a half away from having a functional building there, just based on construction timeframes and contractors and bidding. We did ask FEMA for an ability to put a temporary office building down there, and I'm still fighting with them about that. So we'll see where that goes.
That would almost be the thing to do, is put some kind, I mean, you got all the room in the world, you got a slab, you got the whole 9 yards. That would help out them people in South Lafourche where they could get that service. I mean,
I think sometimes, Daniel. I think sometimes.
You think? Not as good as me though.
No, well.
But anyway, I appreciate it, and hopefully something will happen, because now we're going on 8 months. And guess what? In 2 months, we start back the hurricane season.
No doubt.
So whatever you can do with that trash, I'm going to let them people know.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lorraine. Mr. Adams.
Yeah, I know a while back we did something about an animal shelter. I went there Friday. It's horrible.
Yep.
Even the walkway was all falling down, so I'm just wondering when we're going to start looking at building that.
So like everything else, the hurricane hit and we didn't do anything else for 5 months. Duplantis Design Group is wrapping up the design. We hope to have something ready to go to bid this summer.
Okay, because it's bad.
I know. It's been bad.
I seen the puppies, though. There's some cute puppies.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. Araby.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Can you give me a little update on the demolition, when you mentioned demolition a while ago, on the ag building?
Yep. So we got a letter from Duplantis Design Group and their structural engineer saying that it needed to come down. We sent all that information up to FEMA. They've basically given us the okay to do it. So Duplantis is working on a spec package to take it down. The plan is to have that out of the way ahead of that November show that we talked to Ms. False about. And then we're continuing to work with Ms. False on some type of temporary tent structure to put up there so we can still have that multi-state show in November.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Araby. Item R, Parish President's final comments. Mr. President.
So we covered most of it. We had to tag on Councilman Otan's talk about the Bayou cleanup. We had a successful household hazardous waste collection day on Saturday. Our solid waste group did a great job. We're going to have Mr. Shanklin here in a meeting or two once we can compile all the data to give you guys a good presentation on how much we picked up and how much it helped the parish. If you guys have been around the elevated boardwalk or plan to go, now's a good time to go. The irises are blooming. We have a group led by Mr. Mike Glassbell and some others who have been very proactive in planting irises, and it's really making the property and the surrounding area look good. So we thank them for that. And then I know there are a couple of questions about DOTD. We have a meeting, Representative Fontenot and I have a meeting scheduled with Secretary Wilson 2 Fridays from now to continue the conversation that I think Councilman Araby and Councilman Otan and I had with them about some maintenance issues along state routes, specifically in Choctaw, some stuff along 182. There seems to be some vacant positions that DOTD has. I think there's like 30 unfilled positions in this Houma district. So what Representative Fontenot is proposing is that DOTD basically give us that money and let us use it to do their work. So we're going to begin those conversations with DOTD and see if we can help it pick up. I think that's all I got, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Before we adjourn, Mr. Otan, the Fed Dumont, that is the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th?
April 22nd, 23rd, 24th, free bands, no cover charge. Come out and have a good time. If anyone wants to donate any auction items, there is a Facebook site, La Fête Dumont, with directions on where you can give. And I think we'll probably have our esteemed parish president doing the auctioning for us, so we appreciate that. But anyway, yep, not this weekend, but next, weekend after
All right,
Easter.
and then the weekend after that, April 28th through May 1st is the Thibodeau Fireman's Fair. So you'll have 2 weekends in a row of some good food, good entertainment, good times. So keep those, local organizations in mind, because they definitely need the support. Moving on to item S, adjournment. Motion by Mr. Adams, second by Mr. Jones, that with no further business, Lafourche Parish Council regular meeting of April 12th, 2022 be adjourned. All in favor? Any